Hello and welcome along to Sideline View Review here on Clare FM. It's Terry Clinch with you on this Monday evening. Coming up on the show, we will reflect on Clare's National Camogie League Division 1B success and look ahead to next weekend's opening game of the Munster Championship. Speaking of the Munster Championship, the build-up to Clare's showdown with Waterford in the Munster Senior Hurling Championship officially gets underway this evening as we hear from Clare boss Brian Lohan and speak with former Clare goalkeeper Andrew Fahy to look ahead to the championship campaign. We'll also look ahead to big outings for Clare's minor and under-20 footballers, while we'll also look back on two dramatic games locally in the FAI Junior Cup this weekend. Now, delighted to have Clare coach Aaron Considine on the line with us, fresh and recovered, maybe not, from that victory down in UPMC Nolan Park. Aaron, a historic one in many ways, a Division 1B senior title coming back to Clare. I presume it was celebrated appropriately?
Derek, definitely, yeah. I'm probably, I can only speak for myself here now, but I'm feeling a little bit worse for here this morning. I'm sure there's a lot more like me that was involved yesterday, but savage occasion and great to get the win.
I guess, look, if you can't celebrate these victories, there's probably no point in striving for them, is there?
No, that's for sure. And yesterday we were just talking as a management team yesterday. That's what you train for, to be in Nolan Park, and on days like yesterday, national final. Sure, it's what it's all about, and to get the win obviously makes it more special.
Yeah, and the images of you as a management team at the full-time whistle I thought were significant, because in fairness to Eugene, he had been fairly brave in laying out the fact that this was a real target for Clare. Like, he wasn't hiding it. There was no, well, Eugene never pulls the punches anyway. It was straight down the line. This is what we want. This is what we want to go and get. And you could see just how much it meant.
Oh, definitely. And look, like myself and Eugene and Jason and Justin, there was a few of us involved last year, and geez, the disappointment coming out of Abbottstown last year was, we just didn't perform. We felt we let ourselves down that day, and when we went back this year, it was the main aim to get over the line, and make a contribution. We said if we got back to the final that we were going to win it. We couldn't have that feeling coming out of there again yesterday.
And there was a real sense in that second half of it being a culmination of all the work that you've done so far. There's a couple of games this year where it looked like this is a team that are ready to click now. They're very comfortable with each other. The game plan is locked in. And I suppose up front, the 3 goals, but the defensive effort at the back as well. It was just such a unified approach.
Oh, yeah, it was massive. And I suppose, it's something people wouldn't see, but the training the girls have done since we've been back it's been animal, to be honest. Dara Maloney has come in and Trevor Slattery have come in as the S&C coaches, and geez, I'm looking at some of the running they're doing there, and some of the nights I'm feeling very sorry for the girls, but it showed yesterday, all that hard work paid off. In the last 10 minutes we didn't stop, we got over the line.
And I suppose a lot of energy expended in that first half as well, because fairly blustery in Kilkenny, and to go in touch in the manner that you did, it had been a savage effort to do that.
Yeah, for sure. And we just, after, obviously, when Clare and Abbey went up for the toss and we found out we were playing against the breeze, we just talked about it in the huddle before, that we had to do whatever necessary to make sure that scoreline was low going in at half time, and we were delighted at half time it was only 2. It was probably a 5 or 6 point breeze realistically.
Yeah, and I suppose a lot of the scores coming from frees as well, which a lot of the times you'd be happy to give away into the wind like that rather than let anyone through in towards Dirren to look at her in the white of the eyes, although she has repelled many of them that have got as far as that. But she never really seemed under pressure yesterday at all. I can't remember a clear-cut goal-scoring chance for Dublin other than maybe a last scrambled effort.
Yeah. Dublin didn't really have any goal chances, and look, our backs are absolutely super, and probably a special mention to our 2 in the full back line yesterday, Niamh Mulqueen and Sock, and Abby was sweeping in front of them. They were absolutely excellent, all the backs, but the Dublin never really created a goal opportunity, which is great for us,
And a real, those 2 moments I thought of real leadership, and fittingly from both vice captains, Clare's point from 45 yards out, beautiful strike of the ball at a crucial time, but the work rate of Abbey to get back to execute that hook in those closing stages was just phenomenal.
Oh yeah, the 2 girls you just mentioned there are phenomenal camogie players. They're as good as what's in the country. Clare's point off her bad side, off her left side. It's there isn't too many people that can execute a ball like that. She's just unreal, and sure, Abby Walsh is is just unreal. She's just unreal. The hook was savage, and they led all day yesterday. They led from the front.
Yeah, and in fairness to Clare, she had taken a fair old rattle earlier on in the game as well, just up under the chin, I think, the helmet. It was an accidental collision, I think, in fairness, but to get back up from that, but she never goes back from it anyway. The goals are obviously crucial. Maybe Dublin will argue two of them were of a soft variety. The third was just savage work from Ellen to set up on you. But I guess as an inside forward, if you don't gamble, you don't score.
Yeah, for sure. You have to be there. You have to be there to score them, and it's. And Lorna's just her instinct is brilliant. It was the first goal was massive at the time because Dublin had just come out after half time and they'd got the first point to kick three ahead. So we needed that goal just to get that belief back into us. And Lorna's she's just unreal. If Lorna gets the ball in her hand, 9 times out of 10 it's a score. In fairness to her.
And the gamble on the intercept, it reminded me a little bit actually of Ethan Coughlin's try from Munster in Croke Park a couple of months ago, where she just stepped out of the line, great hands to secure the possession, but then the clarity of thought to take her 4 steps, then play it, take the other 4 steps and be ready to bang it.
It was class, and in fairness, Anya Loughlin's work rate actually for that goal. She got out to the goalie and she put the goalie under pressure for the chance for Lorna to intercept it. So it was a super goal. And the third one, the work rate from Ellen Casey was class. The flick up into her hand was unreal. It was a highlight moment, and we were just delighted.
And in terms of progression now for this group to have secured silverware, to be back in the top 6 in the league, looking ahead to championship in the All-Ireland series, I know there's Munster next week, which we'll touch on in a moment, but like for the All-Ireland series now, to be going in top of the pile of 1B and saying, right, we're top 6 now in the league, let's go and replicate that for championship.
Yeah, for sure. Like we had 2 massive goals at the start of the year. One was to win the league and the other one was to get back to Croke Park. So we're in a great position now to do that. Hopefully, we won't fear anyone in the All-Ireland series, and we just have to go now and keep the levels of intensity in it and hopefully get results again and get back to Croke Park.
And while you can feel sorry away for yourselves today and tonight and tomorrow, we'll probably think back about training again. Waterford in the Munster Championship, we know it's a standalone competition, but it's still a big opportunity. And, the bit of history, I suppose, after last year as well, you'll want to give it a good rattle.
Oh yeah, definitely. And Waterford, the Waterford and Galway game was a savage game yesterday. There was very, very high intensity with massive hits, and it's a very, very fast turnaround. We've a lot of sore bodies. We've a couple of injuries, so we go back training now on Wednesday night and assess everyone, and we'll have a right rattle hopefully off Saturday.
Yeah, but I guess if you could get the victory and get into a Munster semi-final and maybe kill the time towards championship, keep that winning feeling going like that, that'd be a massive target also.
Oh, definitely, yeah, definitely. Like the girls they've trained so hard all year that they're mad for matches. So yeah, if we could beat Waterford and set up a Munster semi-final with Kerry, to be a great occasion as well. But the main thing is just to assess the bodies now. Wednesday night we have a lot of sore bodies and we have a few injuries, so it'll be just interesting to see Wednesday what's available for Saturday, I suppose. Yeah,
we might chat more about that game on Friday evening's show. But for now, Aaron, thanks so much for joining us. Now, what better way to kick off a championship week than to speak to the Bonnish and Clare, Brian Lohan, ahead of this massive game on Sunday afternoon. And Brian, I suppose we've all been looking forward to this one while traversing the country. It was the 19th of April that was always in the back of the minds. Looks like a very busy Páirc Uí Sóig for the contest. You must be getting excited.
Yeah, look, it's we've been, the start of the Munster Championship every year is always big. And this year is the same. So looking forward to the game, looking forward to seeing how we're going to go, and can't wait until it starts.
Yeah, and every game massive in the Munster Championship, but I suppose the first one can set a tone. I know the last couple of years we've kind of bucked that trend a little bit, but I suppose 2 points in the bag come Sunday evening would be huge.
Yeah, well, look, the first game, particularly when that game is at home, like you're kind of under pressure to win those home games because the competition is so tough and the standard is so high. So yeah, there's a certain amount of pressure, but it's the pressure is on every team, whether realistically whether you're home or away, the pressure is on.
And our first 2 games at home, Waterford, then the break, then Limerick come to town after playing Cork, and then you're on the road for 2 more. It's not the worst schedule in the world.
No, I don't think we can complain about the schedule. They, if you have a 2-week break, between your matches, and then we've 2 weeks to tip as well. You can't really complain with that. But that's the nature of the competition, is that it goes in a cycle. So you're going to have that. Someone else will have it next year, and then someone else the following year. So it follows that cycle. So you get it every 4 or 5 years. You get the same kind of schedule. So some days you can be out. You might be the first team that starts in the first weekend, but that comes around in rotation. So it's a fair system. I think it's a fair system that is there, and that's what makes the Munster Championship, is that it is a fair system. Everyone is treated the same. You have 2 home games, you have 2 away games, and so that's great from our perspective.
How have things been in the camp since that National League final?
Yeah, well, sure, look, it was good to win the game. The aim at the start of the year was to get up out of that Division 1B, and we did that as quick as we could. And then, I suppose, initially the aim was to win the final, given that, I suppose, we were probably the best team in 1B, but you have to kind of go out and prove it. You have to win the match, and we did that. So fair play to our lads for doing that.
A lot of novenas, I know, Brian, have been going on up and down the country since that game, in terms of how boys are feeling after it and how the bodies are. Is there any update on the couple of lads that had knocks?
Yeah, sure. Look, they're still lads are still working hard. The medical team are working hard to try and get fellas right, and at the same time you have to do your work on the training field, and you can't be you can't be too soft or too easy, because if you are, you're not going to be prepared for the game. So while you're trying to get guys right, you're also dealing with trying to get fellas up to speed for Munster Championship. So that can be a tough call sometimes.
I know it's early in the week, but are you confident at the moment as to the likes of Tony and Shane and Mark and those guys?
Yeah, sure. Look, we just have to wait and see. We have to wait and see how they're going to how it's going to pan out, and we'll be trying to get our best 15 out on the field.
And I suppose when people then contest or look at the game on Sunday, Clare coming in with brilliant form, obviously Waterford maybe bypassing us. We're nearly passing each other out between 1A and 1B there. Can you read anything into their form?
Well, I suppose you can look at the games that they've played. Beat Limerick, the only team, I suppose, apart from ourselves, that have beaten Limerick this year. Of course, they beat them in the National League, and then Limerick went on and won the league. They have had some really good performances. Obviously, that Limerick game, then obviously they won. And we're unlucky away to Kilkenny. I think they're in a pretty good place, and I think the talk is that they'll have everyone fit as well. So they're going to become as strong as strong as what they can be, which is a pretty tough prospect, which we know from last year and previous years.
And if somebody was to ask you, outside of the obvious thing of silverware and promotion, what do you feel is the biggest thing that Clare have taken away from that 1B campaign?
Oh, look, I suppose the big thing is, all these players. I think we got 37 players in the field for that campaign. We've 39 in the panel, and the 2 that didn't make it were all serious injuries. So everyone that could have got game time got some element of game time. So that's probably the biggest thing, because all these guys, they want to play. Like, they're devoting a huge amount of time and effort into preparing themselves to play with the county, and then they want to play. Like, they want to play the big matches. They want to play the Munster Championship matches, but they also want to play the league matches. So it was good to get a bit of game time into all of the players.
And not just get the game time in, but I think I heard somebody saying it might be one of the lads after one of the games, I can't remember which one it was, but it was a case of these lads just weren't given game time. They were given an opportunity, and they turned that into game time by their performances. So there was a real maturity about what they did. I'm talking about the likes of Jamie Moylan and Dermot Stritch in particular, and those guys. They kind of put you thinking that how can we take them off the next day?
Yeah, well, absolutely. That's what it's all about. Like it's all about competition. It's all about trying to get the best 15 out on the field. Um, the players that are playing the best at the particular time that they will play. So there's fairly stiff competition there at the moment. We're seeing it in our training matches. Fellas want to be representing the county. They want to be playing in those big matches, and that's all good.
And from a defensive perspective, is that kind of something you're looking at maybe in the context of that second half against Dublin? Scrappy goals and stuff like that. If they could be cut out, it would be a serious weapon.
Well, look, we have. I think we learned a lot from that game against Dublin, as you do when you play good opposition. You learn an awful lot, and there was areas of the game that we wouldn't have been happy with. So we've been trying to work on that for the last couple of weeks.
And just finally, Brian, as we say, like the park, please God, hopping on Sunday afternoon. And I suppose that home support has been referenced. They've been up and down the country. They've only a small journey to go now. Thankfully, diesel tanks are full again and all the rest of it. That's vital, that connection between the supporters and this particular team.
Absolutely, yeah. I think the team have given the supporters great value over the last couple of years, but also the supporters have been a real... been a real boost for the players out in the field. They get great support. And the players have always got great support and are always really appreciative of that support. And we hope that that'll be the same, because it'll have to be the same, because a lot of these, Waterford are coming with their a full support as well. So we'll want our supporters behind the team, and hopefully we'll be in a position to give a good performance.
Yeah, I cannot wait for Sunday to roll around, and hopefully the weather will play ball as well. Brian, thanks for taking the time to have a chat with us here on Sideline View Review. Now, delighted to have Andy Fahy on the line as we start the real build-up now to the weekend. You never want to wish your life away, Andy, but I think everybody just wants Sunday to come around.
Yeah, definitely, Derek. I think since that outing in the Gaelic grounds last year, I think everybody has been looking forward to this date for some way out. Look, with the weather hopefully picking up as well now, makes for a great week and good build-up. And I'd say the lads just can't wait to get going now at this stage.
It's interesting you go back as far as that game at the Gaelic grounds, because there was pictures came out of that, I remember, of Shane O'Donnell going in off the field, and I think he might have been even wearing the number 22 jersey if memory serves correct, and there was so many people wondering, like, is that it? Is that the last time we've seen him in that jersey? And then we got this word around that there was lads putting into a message in a WhatsApp group saying we are going nowhere, we're giving it one more go, we're giving it another lash here. And I think that has borne out a little bit this year. That Division 1B campaign can't have been easy with traversing the highways and the byways, but it did seem like a team that were united in a purpose.
Yeah, Derek, definitely. Look, I suppose there, when I suppose this team, it's been majorly touted that it's a last year for a long time. I think that's always been. And I always found that interesting that would always be the thing. But when you look at these players, they're still young, but I know a lot of those lads and they'd be immensely proud. So the way last year would have went from wouldn't have sat well with them. They'd be just immensely proud of what they do and how they go about it. And so I wouldn't have been at all surprised that that the shoulder was being put to the wheel fairly quickly again for the year ahead, because they got a chance, I suppose, to get back. On the Division 1B, they did what they had to do. It was very, very clear. They had a lot of long journeys, but nothing could be done about that. And Clare had to go out and do it very, very professionally. And I suppose last Sunday's league final against Dublin, they did their job. And it was great to see such attacking prowess coming from the inside lads, especially. And they played some fantastic stuff at times in that game. So I think they'll be very, very pleased going into the Waterford game where they are. And I think they look very, very fresh was the big thing that I would have seen from Sunday's game.
And that message of standards seems to be a consistent one, because both Mark Rogers and David Reedy were kind of rolled out to the various press events there in recent weeks, and it seemed to be a consistent messaging anyway, that they felt whatever about anything else, whatever about not defending the All-Ireland title, whatever about anything else, relegation, all the rest of it, they felt it was the standards within their own group was kind of the metric by which that had pissed them off a little bit.
Yeah, look at it, and sure, no different to their manager, and the standards that he set himself as a player, he set himself as a manager. And the one thing for Brian and that group you'll never ever hear is excuses. They come out and they they put the shoulder to the wheel every day. They've given fantastic days out, and even after last year, they were just saying, it was just very much, I suppose, we were maybe beaten by a better team on the day. There was never and that's the great thing about that group, and obviously their manager, is they come out with that mentality, that we're going out to do a job. If we're the best team on the day, we get the result. And I think that's what has the whole county embroiled in this, with this group, is that they know every day they go out, they're giving everything they have, and it can be a rock star performance from them at times. We're going to score an awful lot. Like, just have to look back to the All-Ireland final with Cork, Derek, and realise, like, look at, people can't even remember the score of that, but it was just so high scoring. And that's what this bunch is bringing to the county, and you can see by the followers that come out to see them play all of the time. It's massive, and look, it's very, very entertaining, and that's what you want. When you're in the stand, that's what you want. When you're a player, maybe you want to curtail that a little bit, and you want to make sure your man isn't doing as much. But that's what this group is, and it just oozes confidence, and it's fantastic to see it, and it's coming into the younger players as well.
If you were to read the form lines coming into Sunday's game, and we'll have a chat maybe in a while about the Munster Championship in a broader context, but like, you have a Clare team promoted as champions, you have a Waterford team, relegated, albeit with some good performances behind them, but still dropping down. How much of that plays into what we might see on Sunday?
I think once the Munster Championship, I think the way teams are really approaching it now, you can see in every game, is that form goes out the window, because obviously league is different, and there is a major difference in it from the point of view that some players may be out for the league, some players may be coming in, you might be trialling new players. I think the big thing that Waterford will have no fear, the same way as Clare would have no fear going to Waterford. I think the home venues now, Derek, have become, teams are so used to it now, it happens every year, or happens every second year where you play. So I think that kind of thing is, yes, it is important, but at the end of the day, I think most teams will say, this is a pitch. We're going here, we have to do our job. And I just think that both teams will go at it hammer and tongs. I think Waterford will be preparing it like it'll be like a cup final to them. They'll be coming up and they'll say, no, we're going up there to win. That's our objective. And Clare are saying the very, very same thing. They said, lads, we're coming here with a performance, and we want to rectify what happened 12 months ago.
And we don't know yet, and we probably won't know until about 1:30, 20-2 on Sunday, about a starting 15. We heard from Brian kind of saying that the medical team are doing their job this week on the couple of lads that are carrying knocks. So we can't read anything in or out of that either, other than to say it's obviously crucial that Tony, Shane, Mark in particular, Davy Mack, that these lads are right and ready.
Yeah, definitely, Derek. That'll be a big thing, and I've no doubt. But I suppose the one good thing that this group has had over the number of years is that they've often been without big players in their games before, and they have trusted that next man up approach to go straight in, do your job. Here's your opportunity, and the wheel stays turning. That's, I've no doubt. Like, if obviously, to be super if we can get all of the lads onto the field, but if it isn't, I don't think Brian he'll be just saying to the next guy, here's your chance, there's the jersey, and now is your opportunity to put your fortunes forward for this team. And that's the approach that he'll be taking, because this has happened before, Derek, where guys have been missing big games, whether it be John or Davy Mack or Tony in games, and even Shane O'Donnell for a season. That's the great thing about this group, is they've never ever kind of gone up after that thing. They're just saying to their team, yeah, lads, that's fine, this is where we're at, and we're bringing in our next player, and the ship keeps moving forward. So I think that's just what's so great about this group, and I think that's the way that they'll be approaching it. And look, please God for us all that they can get a clean bill of health for next Sunday.
And is that nearly a psychological thing for management as much as anything else, that if you're a player in a dressing room and you've been in enough of them at club and county level, that if a big star is out, that as a player in the back of your head you're going, geez, we're going to struggle without him today. But then you see the manager handing out that jersey to somebody else and telling him you're well capable of filling it as well. Does that message kind of permeate in around the rest of the room to remove those little doubts?
Definitely, Derek, because remember, that player that's injured, he wants the team to win. So he's always going to be saying, and okay, I'm not on the pitch today, but he's going straight over and giving that player that full back and that full confidence that you've trained here. This is why you've been in here since November, training here and putting it, and getting your games. That's why you're here. So now here is the day that you go out and you show that. So that's what this is about, and that's why you have a squad. And it is important that, maybe some lads might not expect it. That can often be a good thing too, that you say, there you go, in you go, and like, it's amazing. That was the Shane O'Donnell story of 2013. He was, I think Davey was, he didn't really tell him till that morning, and you saw what happened after it. So I just think that, players are more resilient now these days, and they're learning to deal with it, because the game is getting so fast. Injuries are part of it. It's part of being a sports person, but that's 100% the psychological view from that squad, because they've lived it and they've done it and they've achieved success through it. So I don't see it being any different.
And from a Waterford point of view, then we know Conor Prunty is, well, Peter Queally tells us he's out. He could well yet lent in us. We won't know till Sunday. Jamie Barron, I think, is in the 50-50 category, and they've brought back in a certain Austin Gleeson as well. Now, what way he'll come back in terms of form and conditioning is probably another situation. So I suppose they're not without their uncertainties either.
No, and that's it. And I've no doubt Peter will be looking at it the exact same way down there. Like, if you've an injured player, you have no option. Like, I suppose it can't rest, manager probably is saying to himself, it can't rest just on one player if they're being out, because that's why we have a squad. And look at, I suppose, for Austin Gleeson returning, it'll be very interesting to see, does he see game time in it, for sure, because we all know the player that, when we seen him in full flow, sure, he was, he's a Rolls Royce of a player to be watching. And the game has definitely missed him. So, from a hurling perspective, it'll be great to see him back if that is the case. And, hopefully from a Clare perspective, he doesn't have a big impact on the game, obviously. But, look, they have a lot of quality coming through, and, they've young players coming through, and Ballygunner obviously having such a good club season. Derek, you can see the likes of Desi Hutchinson and them fella going back into their fold and being a little bit better, and Patrick Fitzgerald and these guys. So look at their building experience, and their underage is on the up all of the time as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge game. I suppose it's later in the week before we can start speculating on matchups and things like that, in case at all we might get some news on those injuries. But I suppose the other game people will be keeping a very, very close eye on will be at 4 o'clock then on Sunday. Cork going down to the All-Ireland champions in a repeat of that famous final now, and they'll be hoping to play 2 halves anyway for this particular contest. But I suppose so many little side stories to this one as well, and big ramifications as it is in every game as to where the 2 points will go.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose Liam Cahill, last preparation game for them was against Kilkenny in a rip-roar of a contest in Thurles. And, there hasn't been a word about them, Derek, for the last number of weeks. They've just been very, very quiet. There hasn't been, much interviews coming from them. And I suppose, a lot of focus would have gone to the Limerick-Cork league final. I suppose it was where an awful lot of where that focus would have been. So I think Tipperary would be quietly happy with that. Teams writing them off, I'm not so sure you can ever write Tipperary off in anything. And they have piles of talent. At the end of the day, they're the All-Ireland champions, and as I said, Clare were in their position, 24 or 12 months ago. And, it's amazing that, at times that can be the and Clare still went to the last game with a chance, that last minute against Tipperary. If we came out the right side of that result, suddenly the whole season can open up again for you. It's such fine margins. But I think for Tipperary, I think they're coming into it in a really good place. They've been quiet, they've been silent. I don't think I've ever heard Les Nyes come out since nearly Kilkenny were going for the 5 in a row against them. Back those years ago when Liam Sheedy was over. Liam Sheedy was over Tipperary. I think they've just been so quiet. I'd have no doubt they're training relentlessly and just preparing themselves. Because at the end of the day, Derek, they're playing at home,
We're going to have a lot of these on these podcasts and all the radio shows and all the rest of it throughout the week. Who's your 3 out of Munster? But I'm going to ask you a different kind of a question. Who qualifies along with Clare out of Munster?
I suppose I do believe that the first round antics of this will have massive ramifications, I think. But I think the teams that are, for me, that are going to qualify, I am going for Clare, Tipperary and Limerick.
Big call, no Cork?
No, I think, because I suppose if my view is that if Tipperary can get a win, Cork then have a massive game 7 days later against the juggernaut that is Limerick. And if Limerick can go into that somewhere fresh, 3 weeks off after a league final, what have Cork learned? I just think it could possibly go in Tipperary's favour if they can get next Sunday right.
Yeah, it's going to be a savage few weeks ahead. Really can't wait for it to come around, and we'll be chatting to you right throughout the season as well. Andy, thanks for that.
No problem at all, Derek. Thank you.
More to come. Do stay tuned. Now, this evening in Clare Castle, and just in case at all you're coming late to the party and you haven't heard, that is a change of venue. Game was to be in Quilty. It's gone to Clare Castle. That's the Clare Miners taking on Tipperary in the last round of the Munster Phase 1 series. Delighted to have Kieran Madigan with us to look ahead to that, and the under-20s in a couple of minutes as well. Big night ahead though for Joe Hayes and his minor squad, Kieran, because depending on results, we'll all be looking at the phones, keeping an eye on the other game. But I suppose for them, all they can do is win and then check the other ones.
Yeah, exactly, and they're in a good position now after winning the game last week against Limerick. Qualification is, if we win the game tonight, you'd imagine that we'd wrap up second place, because there's such a big difference in the scoring stakes. And Waterford have been very good, and you'd be expecting them to win that game tonight against Limerick. And if they do, if we can win our own game, we'll wrap up second place in the group. And look, we'd have certainly taken that after the first outing against Waterford there a couple of weeks ago. So, things are we were definitely a lot happier with the performance last week. And all you can do is when you have a performance that you're not very happy with, go away, work on it, and try and improve. And we certainly did that last week.
Just to give people an idea as to how the table is standing ahead of this evening's game, so you've Waterford on 4 points with a +9 scoring difference. Then comes Clare with 2 points and a -2, but they have the head-to-head over Limerick, who have the same points but a +4 difference. And then you've Tip on -11. And I suppose we're kind of looking at it saying maybe Tip are slightly out of it with no points, but I suppose the reality of it is, if Waterford were to turn over Limerick, and if Tip were to beat Clare, and if the scoring difference worked out, Tip's still not technically out of it, so there's still a lot for them to play for, albeit they're struggling for form a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, technically they're not out of it, but they're going to have to basically beat Clare by about 14 points to put themselves back in the hunt. So you'd be hoping that they don't have that level of performance in them, because they have struggled in their first 2 games. They went down to Limerick by 5 points, and Waterford beat them well last week. So obviously they're playing for pride first and foremost. I don't think they'll really have qualification in their minds. I think it's maybe to put in a good performance, and they'll be trying to get a victory for sure. But we're looking at the qualification stakes in our own bat, and look, if we can give the level of performance that we did last week against Limerick, because there was a huge difference in the work rate first and foremost, in the pace that we played with, and obviously our full forward line, well, they're not called that anymore, I suppose, the inside three as we call them, but they all delivered. And when you have an inside three and they're putting big scores up for you, you always have a chance. And I think that we're definitely very dangerous in that department.
And that's one thing Joe Hayes has been kind of saying even after the Limerick game, that he just would like to see the scoring increased a little bit more. 10 points against Waterford, 14 against Limerick. He feels 20 should be the target each day you go out, and that could be an attainable one tonight. So defensively they've been quite good, but I suppose he just needs to get more of a return from the boys up front.
Yeah, a little bit of worrying, I suppose, from the performance last week is we went, we scored our 12.5 minutes into the second half, and we went 20 minutes without scoring. We got 2 points in the last 4 or 5 minutes to maybe just see out the game, but going 20 minutes without scoring is definitely a bit worrying. I suppose this time of year, conditions are playing a big factor in it. In most games you go to at the moment, there's a big breeze, and there's maybe one half that you're going to do the bulk of your scoring, and then you're going to have to work very hard in the second half. So yeah, look, 14 points isn't going to get it done most days for you. You definitely want to be getting up 18 points plus. But look, this is a team it's a brand new team, and they're growing and improving. And look, I was very impressed with Liam Keane last week. I was impressed with him the first evening as well. I just thought we didn't give him enough ball. But look, last week, 9 points. two 2-pointers from play and a 2-point-3 as well. You know, that's very good shooting from your star man inside, and he's a very good ball winner as well. And I think if the elements are in our favour, and we can get good direct ball into him, he's really going to cause some problems. And he's getting good help inside from Michael Normal and Sean O'Callaghan as well, two good players as well, and well able to take a score themselves. But yeah, they've done the bulk of our scoring, and 14 points was enough to get the job done. But at the end of the game, like, Limerick had a 2-point effort from Charlie McCarthy, and if he had scored it, Limerick would have won the game. There was only 1 point in it at that stage, so you can see, all right, that amount of the score isn't going to get it done. You need to be, and if you're playing a team this evening that has 2 games lost, and obviously I'm not saying it's going to be an easy game or anything like that, but if you want to be competitive in the phase 2, if we get there, you're definitely going to have to be increasing your scoring stakes, and you want to be creating a couple of goal chances as well, which we haven't really done in the first 2 games.
But you'd also be heartened by the way that they responded to what was a disappointing performance and a disappointing result on the first night, and to make that long journey to Mount Collins, which somebody described to me as basically in Kerry. It's that far down south of Limerick, like on Easter Monday after a bank holiday weekend, you're waiting for it to come around, and the way that they responded and dug it out, you'd take great heart from.
You would, and that's where you have to give credit to the management, because it's the amount of people that were at the game the first evening out in Quilty against Waterford would have been disappointed with the performance, but all management can do is go away and work on things, and you can see the improvement, and that's all you want to see, improvements every day you go out, and there was a massive improvement. But look, any day you go out and you give the work rate that they gave the last day against Limerick, you always give yourself a chance. It's when you don't work hard, that's when you struggle. But you have to give them serious credit. They were really up for the game. The defence was very, very good. I was impressed with goalkeeper Conor Griffin as well from Ennis-Time, and I thought he had a very, very good game. It's all obviously the lean teams will get the headlines when they score 9 points, but they won't score 9 points without the work rate of Shane Cahill and Paddy Nealon and players like this. They're the ones that are winning the ball from and creating the chances, and just working very, very hard all over the field.
Yeah, absolutely. 7 o'clock in Clarecastle tonight. If you're around to call down and support them, please do. Then on Thursday evening, this game currently fixed for Park Nevera, but I'm told that it's under a weather watch as well. If this rain that's supposed to be coming on Tuesday and Wednesday might cause problems, so just keep an eye out there for any late changes that might come to that one. But another huge game for Dermot Coughlin's under-20s, and I suppose, Kieran, very unlucky not to be coming into this effectively making it a Munster semi-final, insofar as that they'd be qualified if they had picked up the points against Cork. They still do have a point on the board. They still need to get the 2 points here, but very, very encouraging last week.
Yeah, it was great to see it. And look, we'd have probably taken the draw before the game if anybody asked us, but having watched the game, you can see that we did have chances that we could have won the game. But look, I think overall a draw probably was a fair result, because I thought Cork missed a couple of scoreable frees in that second half as well. Tough elements now, a very, very strong breeze there, but it was a really, really good battling performance from Clare, and again, coming from the work rate, and I was so impressed with the defence and some of the last ditch defending in particular, and you saw Derek, like Dermot Boyle, I thought he was absolutely outstanding. He had 2 interceptions in the game that definitely prevented goal scoring chances for Cork, and one in the second half that he just managed to get in ahead of Danny Miskell and win the ball. I don't know how he had any right to win that ball, but I thought it was outstanding. I just think that this is a team that are really growing and improving in every game. We're 4 games into the competition now, and we're still unbeaten, and that's new territory for a Clare team, really. And to go up against Cork, and the way we managed the game in the last few minutes, in that 3 minutes of injury time, we basically had the ball for the whole 3 minutes. We were running down the clock to maybe, and Cork were defending well. They weren't giving us any clear-cut shooting opportunities, but we weren't taking any crazy shots onto and giving Cork the opportunity to get the ball back on a kick out. I thought it was really, really good game management, and mature play from very, very young players. But you'd have to be impressed with some of the performances. Evan Cahill, I thought, gave a real exhibition, and it wasn't just his field. And I don't, if you remember the point they got just before half time, Derek Culligan's point, but he gave a 50-yard outside of the foot pass into Derek Culligan. I thought, and that came from Dermot Boyle winning the ball as well just before that. But Sean Fennell again, some of his shooting, one of the 2-pointers he kicked there at the start of the second half was, I think you called it outrageous, and it definitely was. I just think that the defence overall were absolutely outstanding on an evening that Cork definitely had their homework done on the likes of Derek Culligan, and Cork playing a sweeper in front of our inside through three, really showed the respect that they had for the Clare forward line and the danger that we had, because you don't expect Cork to worry about who they're coming up against in Clare, and the fact that they played the sweeper for the full 60 minutes shows that they were definitely worried about the damage we could do. But you'd have to be very, very proud of that performance, and we're in a really good position now,
And interesting to note as well, Dermot Coughlin referenced after the game that in their huddle he felt players were actually disappointed, and for a Clare football group to be disappointed with a draw against Cork, I think speaks volumes of where they want to go and where they think they can go. And as we say, the next place they will go is against Waterford. They beat them 112 to 6 points down in Limmy Bryan, and what was a hugely emotional occasion, because that of course came in the aftermath of the late Jack Boddy's passing, which can't have been easy for the group on that day. And Waterford now coming in, Kieran, off the back of a fair clipping against Kerry, 227 to 10 points. I'm not quite sure what you can read into that, because Kerry probably have the capability of doing that to a lot of teams, but you have to imagine that the home venue, the positive bounce, all that comes with it from a Clare perspective should leave them in a good spot for this.
Yeah, it definitely should. And look, Kerry are capable of doing that to any team. If they get a run on you at all, it's like, if they get, even when they're playing our senior team, if they were to get an early goal, you'd worry that the floodgates could open. That's the way it is when you come up against the likes of them. We picked up a very good result against Waterford, and as you say, a real emotional display it was on the day, and it was fantastic that we got the win. But Waterford qualifying for this phase 2, first of all, they did very well to get here. And there's great credit due to them, because they're putting in an awful lot of work at underage. But if they looked at that phase 2, they'd be saying, the Clare game is a game that they'd be targeting to put in a performance. I don't think they would have been expecting to get much out of the Kerry game. And I think Clare, they'd probably see themselves as close enough to us, and they'll definitely be targeting a big display in this. And they'll want to restore a bit of pride as well after the result against Kerry. So, we have to be on it from the start. We have to tear into them from the start and try and get a few scores on the board, and maybe hopefully their heads might drop a little bit, because realistically I don't think Waterford have a lot to play for now. It's more pride than anything else, and this is definitely the game that they'll be targeting. And look, we're looking the other way. We're looking to actually try and do something we haven't done, and qualify for a Munster final, which would be, for this particular group and where they would have been seen before a ball was thrown in the championship. We've really, really come a long way, and I have to give huge credit to Dermot Coughlin and his management, because they've been a joy to watch. They're not grinding out results. They're going out and they're playing really good football, and obviously it's a given with a Dermot Coughlin team that they're going to be really, really hard working, but they've got some style and class as well, and they're actually a really nice team to watch playing football.
And it's that ability to mix being real compact and structured, and Dermot has mentioned the word structure quite a number of times now when we've chatted after games throughout the year, but moving from that kind of defensive structure to then a free-flowing attack. Like, Stephen Murphy spends a lot of time on the opposition 45. Daniel Brodie starts a lot of attacks out in that right flank. Boyle can run through the centre. We've seen how Fennell switches in and out. It's not a rigid, it's a real, when we have the ball, lads, let's go and try and score.
Yeah, and all those defenders are comfortable on the ball. Like so many of our scores come from maybe a defender winning a turnover and starting the attack from there. And like we saw that last week, one of them coming from Dermot Boyle, and I think another one coming from Michael Kelly, starting the move, and we getting scores out of it. That's they're all comfortable ball players, just and the defenders are good defenders as well. But it's sheer work rate. But I think their game management, and a lot of it comes on the field, that the players are able to see things as well. Like if you remember the game there last week against Cork, we started the game, we put a few long balls in, and they were cut out by the sweeper. And I don't know if the message came in from the sideline or if it was the players themselves, but suddenly it stopped, and we started we started retaining the ball and working it through the lines and using the full width of the field. Our two wing backs, as if we call them, they were standing on the touchline, giving real width to the play, and the style changed maybe 10 minutes into the game, and that's the thing about it. We tried something, it wasn't working for us, and suddenly we had a plan B, and the plan B was very, very good, and that's where we got our joy out of. It wasn't the plan we went out with, but we changed it on the field, and I think that's a sign of good management and good mature players.
Yeah, and a lot of them, I think, will be on the radar of a senior squad in the next year or two, if maybe not even this year. But I suppose they'll have their own focus now for Thursday evening at 7 o'clock, no matter where it'll be. Anyway, we will have the game live for you here on Clare FM. Kieran, listen, thanks for taking the time to have a chat with us this evening.
No bother, thanks, Derek.
Back shortly here on Sideline View Review. Now we're turning our attentions to soccer here on Sideline View Review, where it was a limited enough fixture schedule over the weekend. Would you believe on a Monday we can also do a little bit of previewing? There's a couple of big games coming up on Wednesday night in the Premier Division. Jim Madden is with us to both look back and look ahead. Jim, we'll start with those two FAI Junior Cup games. Dramatic, both of them involving comebacks and late goals and all the rest of it. Real drama for those that attended.
Yes, indeed. I mean, the Newmarket game in particular, the Bridge led 1-0 at half time and then went on to lead 2-0. However, they had a man sent off, which probably was their own fault to a large extent. And then Newmarket made a number of substitutions that suddenly the game changed, and Newmarket ran out winners by 3-2, and were comfortable enough at the end. The Bridge will have to look at themselves a little bit, because they have some important games coming up, and there is a game in the league coming up as well for them where they'll be playing Newmarket again. They need to have a look at the way they're playing. They were a bit hyped up against Ashling some weeks back as well in the Munster Junior. They need maybe to calm themselves down a bit and be a little bit more, focused on the game, because the Bridge have to make sure that they win something this year. There's two competitions now open to them, the Premier League and the local cup.
Yeah,
and there'll be nothing easy in those.
Certainly not. So just to give a bit of detail on it, it was Jack O'Halloran and Scott Kirkland scoring either side of half time, and then Darragh Leahy and Tyg Noonan levelled things up before Harvey Cunliffe popped up in the 96th minute with the winning goal for Newmarket. And I believe as well, for just talking to a couple of people who were at the game, it was the introduction of Owen Hayes as a substitute. He had gone off injured the previous week in the Munster Junior semi-final defeat, went off after I think only 3 or 4 minutes in that game. But being able to bring him off the bench to create that bit of spark late on obviously worked.
It did indeed, and I mean there's no doubt that while Owen is not 100% fit, because he wouldn't have recovered from that bit of an injury he had going into the Munster semi-final and come off early, but he is such an inspirational figure to them. Harvey Cullinan as well is very, very important, and they're very lucky that Harvey is seems to avoid any kind of injuries, but he also gets the vital goals. And of course Darragh Leahy is playing very well for them as well. He puts himself about in no uncertain terms, and he got one of the goals again yesterday. So Newmarket have this they just never say die. They'll fight to the end, and they were just a little bit maybe unlucky against Ashling, but they proved it a couple of times recently that they're a dour outfit and hard to beat.
Similar story with Avenue United then. They beat Dromore United 5-3. They were 2-1 down at half time, but not for the first time, I suppose. Ronan Kieran coming up with a brace of goals. Ryan Corcoran and Jack Ryan also on the target. A late goal for Dromore to set up a nervy enough kind of a finish, but a 5-3 victory and some second half turnaround here from the Cherries.
Yes, indeed. And I mean, there's no doubt that they probably did look at Dromore a little bit and think that it would be a slightly easier game. But I think that a lot of the teams in the Desmond League and teams in other leagues as well, who maybe aren't at the very top of their leagues, they really do look at the FAI Junior Cup, and particularly to get an away match, and they feel this is a great chance to really have no fear, go out and play their game. And that's what Dromore have done. And they made Avenue go every step of the way. and there's no doubt Avenue will be quite happy that they're in the next round now, which is the open round.
Yeah, so Newmarket and Avenue going through to that. The only other game from the men's side of things locally was Mana Celtic losing 3-1 to Mount Shannon in the first division, and on Saturday the Clare League, the Women's League, beating North Tipperary by 3-0. We mentioned there though, Jim, because of fixture backlogs and all the rest of it, I think we're going to be looking at a couple of midweek fixtures, I'd say, over the coming weeks as well, and none more so than during this week on Wednesday, I think it is. Newmarket will be in action there as well, trying to, I suppose, strengthen that grip on the Premier League title. They go to Lees Road to face Fairgreen Celtic, while Bridge United might have a little bit of a banana skin ahead of them as well, Innis Dons in St. Flannan's.
Yes, indeed. I mean, both of them are away from home. And Sunday will have taken a fair bit out of both of those teams. They'll need to regroup. They'll know that there is no room for error in the Premier League run for the title as well. While Newmarket might be 2 points clear at the moment, with 3 points for a win, the Bridge will be looking at that and saying, well, if we can get a win here, it closes the gap, unless the Newmarket win at Fairgreen. It's still all to play for at the top of the Premier League. All of the teams at the top 4 have played 12 games, so they've the same number of games played, and that means that they've the same number to play to finish the season. You'd have to be inclined to think that the Newmarket have to slip up if anybody is going to catch them. And the way Newmarket are playing, it's very hard to see where they can slip up. And remember, they played the Bridge in the league in a couple of weeks' time as well. Before we go, Derek, I'd just like to mention that last Tuesday evening, Newmarket Celtic B were crowned First Division champions after a 2-2 draw with Connolly. This means that they have won 3 First Division titles in a row, which is an incredible performance. And they're still with a couple of games left, 14 points ahead of the second place Moher Celtic. Now, that's some performance by a B team, isn't it?
Fantastic stuff. Yeah, no, congratulations to them. Newmarket Celtic doing great work on and off the field, obviously, down there as well. More to come on Friday, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck, Derek.
And that is where you have to leave you for this week. The West Wind is up next here on Clare FM. Enjoy the rest of your Monday evening.